Today's hymn is by a Welsh hymn writer, Anna Letitia Waring, who lived in the 19th century. And it's another hymn about the providence of God. It's a beautiful, beautiful hymn, and one I really love and have been singing for, again, over about 40 years. When I want to find comfort and to find a place of rest in God's providence. We're saying God's providence flows from his nature and his being, and our understanding and our doctrine of providence must be grounded in God's being and nature. In other words, everything that God does flows from who God is. And so whenever we're perplexed by what God is doing in the world or in our own lives or the lives of others, we need to call to mind his character and his unchanging nature, and sometimes by faith alone, what Calvin sometimes called naked faith. Nothing in our feelings, nothing in our own reasoning to support us, but just believing what he says about himself. We can draw grace from God himself in those times of perplexity. That's what she talks about in this hymn. She expresses how much her heart, even in times of perplexity, is resting in God and who he is. I will give thanks and sing. My heart is at the secret source of every precious thing. Her heart has gone past the circumstances, past the perplexities, to God himself. And she has the image of holding out her heart, if you want, like a vessel to be filled with the grace of God, because the waters of this world, she says, have failed. And so she lifts up her heart for God to fill it with his grace and love and mercy in times of perplexity. She talks about times when in God's providence strength is given, and then times about when strength is withheld, and how it's those times when strength is withheld that drives her to prayer. It's easy for our hearts to rest whenever God's providences are what I like to call gift-wrapped and pleasant. But growth and progress in the Christian life takes place more in times when God's providence brings about adversity and trial. Paul talks about being perplexed, but not in despair, crushed, but not destroyed. And Calvin has a beautiful comment in Psalm 57 about God's providence in David's life. David was experiencing ongoing adversity and affliction over many years at the hands of King Saul, and they caused him, in his own words in Psalm 57, to sing under the shadow of God's wings. I find refuge. And he would never have known what it meant to climb under the shadow of God's wings if it hadn't been for his adversities. I just want to read a few lines of what Calvin says in this commentary. Again, this is a commentary I've mentioned before in the Psalms by Banner of Truth. And he says this: David knows that in the storm or whirlwind of destruction, he will be safe. Though we experience seasons of quiet calm, we never know when afflictions will suddenly arise. Therefore, we must be persuaded that in adversity, God will cover us with his wings. And Anna Waring captures some of that in this hymn. My heart is resting, oh my God, I will give thanks and sing. My heart is at the secret source of every precious thing. Now this frail vessel pleasures of this world have failed, and I am thirsty still. I thirst for springs of heavenly life, and here all day they rise. I seek the treasure of your love, and close at hand it lies. And a new song is in my mouth, to long-loved music set. Glory to you for all the grace I have not tasted yet. Glory to you for strength renewed, for want and weakness known, the fear that sends me to your breast, for all you've made my own. I have a heritage of joy that yet I cannot see, the hand that bled to make it mine is keeping it for me. My heart is resting, oh my God, my heart is in your care. I hear your voice of peace and hope resounding everywhere. You are my portion, says my soul, all those who trust you say, and the music of their glad